The federal government can stop you from doing it. That was the beginning of a massive expansion of what the commerce power has been used for by Congress. And so now Congress regulates just about anything they want to based on the theory that someday, somewhere, there might be an effect on interstate commerce. And now we have in Washington a health care bill which is unconstitutional. Why is it unconstitutional? I'll tell you why it's unconstitutional, and this is going to go all the way to the Supreme Court if this thing passes. Hopefully it won't pass. But it's unconstitutional because it attempts to individually mandate that every American purchase health insurance. Never before has the federal government ever attempted to mandate that all people in America purchase anything. That has never been done before. Now that point, the unconstitutionality, the potential unconstitutionality of the bill was actually raised by a reporter who was interviewing Arlen Specter, Snarlin' Arlen as he's known to some of his friends. And Arlen Specter, in answering the question, first of all he sort of dodges the question, and then he finally gets around to answering the question and he says, well, the state of Massachusetts, they had a statewide health care mandate, the state mandated it. It was amazing to me that a U.S. Senator, a sitting U.S. Senator who has been there for so long, didn't understand the doctrine of enumerated powers. Of course the state can do it. The state has unenumerated, indefinite powers. They could, if they chose, mandate it. Congress can't do it unless it's in Article 1, Section 8, or elsewhere in the U.S. Constitution, and it isn't there. And this is something that, if this bill passes, will certainly result in a major, major constitutional showdown. But that's just one example, the commerce power. The other way in which state sovereignty has been eroded is through the spending power. And this is really important, and really the turning point here came in 1987. When the national drinking age of 21 was being imposed by Congress. Now, a drinking age of 21 is a fine thing, but it's not Congress's responsibility to impose it. It's the state's responsibility to decide what the drinking age is. It is the state's responsibility to decide what the speed limit is. It is the state's responsibility to decide the nature and character and shape of their school system. All of these things are state responsibility, but what Congress had attempted to do, as you may recall, was withhold highway funds. Hold the states hostage, hold those funds hostage, and extort compliance from the states. And the Supreme Court said, yeah, you can do that. You can use that fund, that lure of federal funds, or the threat of withholding those federal funds to force the state to do what Congress wants it to do. Now the problem with this is it blows a huge hole in the 10th Amendment. Because the 10th Amendment says Congress can only do those things expressly listed. If you allow the spending power to be used to force the states to do anything else, then Congress is no longer limited to those powers expressly listed in Article 1, Section 8. And so the spending power has proven to be a huge instrument in the erosion of state sovereignty by Congress. And that brings us to where we are today, in what I describe as a perfect storm of the federal spending power. The federal spending power, the leverage that Congress can exert, is at its highest, at its greatest, when the states are in a position of economic weakness, when there's a recession, and so state revenues are very low, and so states are desperate to find ways to balance their budgets because, of course, as we've heard, states are constitutionally required to balance their budgets under the state constitutions. And the second factor that creates the perfect storm is a Congress willing to spend with abandon. A Congress that sees no limits on federal spending. And of course, we see a $1.4 trillion deficit, 3 times the largest deficit ever seen prior to that, 10% of our GDP going into federal spending. And so we are in that perfect storm right now, where the states are so vulnerable. And so last year, as you know, Kansas took $600 million in stimulus funds, but those stimulus funds came with strings attached. And among the strings attached were that education spending, K through 12 education spending, could not be cut below the 2006 level. Now you might think, well, that's just fine. Some people will disagree on that. Some say that's a great level. Some would say not a great constraint. But it doesn't matter. It's not the federal government's responsibility to decide. It's the state government's responsibility to have sovereign control over how much money is spent on education. And that loss of state sovereignty, which was bought with a price of $600 million, is something that the legislature sold. Now they did it under economic duress. They had to balance the budget. I wouldn't have made that decision. I think most people in this room would have made the decision to take the money because they were giving up the sovereignty. And that sovereignty doesn't belong to the state legislators. That sovereignty belongs to us, to the people of Kansas. And they were giving it up to the federal government. And now look what we have. Now we have a dependency that the federal government has been fostering for decades now of the state governments on federal money, which, by the way, is our money. It's just going through the federal government now. We have this dependency, and so now some states are coming to the trough without even being called yet. The cows are coming in because it's time to be fed. And of course, I would give you the example of California, where, as you may have heard, the governor recently said that he is going to ask the federal government to cover $6.9 billion of the deficit in California to help them balance their budget. In other words, they want our money here in Kansas to help California balance its budget. That is outrageous. That is not the scheme that the framers envisioned, where there would be a transfer of money from one state to the other. Look, if California, if you want to spend that kind of money, I wouldn't recommend it, but if you want to spend that kind of money, you have to pay for it. Don't call the people of Kansas and say, because of your profligate spending, you want to use the federal government as a lever to force us to pay for your... So all kinds of things like this are happening, and it's all part of this rash use of the spending power. So we have this perfect storm. We have a situation in Kansas where we've already given up some measure of our state sovereignty. And the situation is, well, what do we do about it? Well, SCR 1615 is the first step, because SCR 1615 is important. It's not just some words that are thrown out into the air and then promptly ignored. No, these are words spoken by the legislature of the state of Kansas. These are words that require a vote of the legislators to deliver. This is more than just an opinion poll. It is the state saying, we recognize that the Constitution is a compact, and the terms of that compact have been breached,